So this is the second time that I've done winter retreat at the Abbey. And it was a very different experience from the first time. So Venerable Trident asked me to talk a little bit about how it was different and why. The first time I did winter retreat was 2 years ago. And there's actually a BBC video of that from 2 years ago where I talked about my experience. But I want to just briefly talk about what happened then so that we can compare. And of course, since it was my first really long retreat, it was 4 weeks at the Abbey. In fact, I think I was here a little bit longer than that. I was really excited. And I got here and I got settled into my room and it started getting settled into the schedule. And I have a chronic health condition. And all of a sudden, it flared up. And I was in a lot of pain. There was nausea. I was really struggling with it. And of course, with physical symptoms like that, you've got afflictions arising. And I was so angry. It wasn't supposed to be like that. I wanted it to stop. I wanted to do anything to make it go away. It wasn't fair. All the attachment arising. And my mind, I had so many mental temper tantrums that looking back now, it's funny, and it was not so funny then. And I've been kind of likening it to, I had this campfire because I wasn't imagining the pain, right? There was a campfire there, and it was producing heat. This pain was giving rise to afflictions. But what I was doing was I was throwing logs on the fire. And after 3 weeks of throwing a log, this isn't fair, and I don't want it to be like this, and it wasn't supposed to be like this. 3 weeks later, I had an enormous bonfire, and it was putting off so much heat. Thankfully, after 3 weeks, I caught it, I realized what I was doing, and I was able to turn things around. If you want to hear the rest of that story, you can go back and watch the BBC from 2 years ago. I think we called it Dropping Your Garbage, I think is what it was. So, but fast forward 2 years now, and causes and conditions come together for me to do long retreat again. And same place, many of the same people, same schedule, and guess what? Flare up. And the pain and the nausea and all the things that came with it, in the bed in between sessions with the heating pads, just to make it to the next section, or to the next session. And of course, all the afflictions that go with it. But this time was different, because this time I was watching for it. I was watching my mind, and I was ready with antidotes. And so an affliction would arise, and I'd apply an antidote. And it would arise, and I'd apply an antidote. And instead of creating this 3 weeks of misery, this time, even though I couldn't do and be with you, in here studying and things like that all the time because it was in my room, I felt so connected. I wasn't isolated. I felt like even in the silence, we were building relationships. I was involved. I wanted to hop up and help, every little place that I could see somebody needed maybe a little bit of help. And my mind was so joyous, completely different. And the thing is, it didn't happen causelessly. This didn't just, come out of nowhere. It was 2 years of creating merit. It was 2 years of purification. It was 2 years of safe courses, Thursday night teachings, Friday night teachings, writing up meditation points each week, meditating on them every day. There were causes that went into this for me to be able to work with my mind. And that was the difference. That's the thing. Between that retreat, everything being the same as this one, except the fact that I was working on my mind. And it made a world of difference. And I got thinking about it. And before this retreat, I don't know that it was necessarily a thought that was really out there, but I was operating on the notion that watching the mind and applying antidotes was exhausting. And I don't know about you, but I'm guessing you're probably the same as I am. But afflictions arise like anger in the mind. And if I think to apply an antidote, it's like, seems so much easier to just wallow in it, right? Doesn't it? You just want to sit in it. We should probably apply an antidote, but it seems like so much effort. And the truth of the matter is that's the self-centered thought lying to us. It's telling us it's harder and more exhausting to apply that antidote and watch our mind than to just let the affliction go. And it's the opposite. It's the exact opposite. The afflictions will wear us out, whereas if we watch our minds and we're diligent in applying those antidotes, the mind is so joyous, it's enthusiastic, and it has energy. Completely different mind. So, I mean, this may sound weird. I'm glad I got sick. I'm glad it was as bad as it was, because otherwise I never would have seen the power of the mind. That putting those causes and conditions into play and creating the ability for me to work with my mind to that extent made all the difference. So here I was last time, I had this little mantra, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, to get through retreat. And this time it was more of this celebratory cheer, I can do this, I can totally do this, right? And I'm gonna be back to that pep talk at some point, that I can do this, I can do this. But in the meantime, I have this milestone. I can come back to this retreat knowing that I just have to keep practicing, I have to keep creating the causes, and this path works. I know that experientially. And so, what a difference. 2 years. Imagine, 10 years and 20 years and 20 lives. What a difference that we can make. And I can't imagine that even though we're not speaking, that doesn't make a difference for the people around me. It has to, because you move through space differently. So you can imagine, when we're talking, how much different that energy is, and and what we're sharing with other people, and how that makes a difference in their life too. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really glad the way this turned out, and so may we all keep practicing. May we keep creating the causes, and may we transform our own minds so that we can make a difference for ourselves and for other beings.